What is going on, baseball fans, and welcome back to the channel. This is Orioles Today, and as always, I am Sean Ferguson. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to today's episode, and if you are a fan of today's episode, please give that like button a high five, and if you are a fan of this content, please subscribe. Get yourself daily notifications for all of these daily video drops covering all things the Baltimore Orioles. Getting right into today's episode, there is not a ton going on right now as we continue to wait and see what the Orioles' next move is going to be, with potentially signing one of these remaining top-tier free agent starting pitchers that we continue to talk about and just continue to wait and see, as it just feels inevitable that the Orioles have to make this move to really round out their roster for 2026 and beyond. But I do want to start off talking on this episode about Gunnar Henderson. He was on an interview a day or so ago and let it be known that pretty much for the last 3 quarters of the regular season last year, he was dealing with a shoulder injury. And then I saw kind of all over social media, people immediately go, well, this is kind of the Orioles' MO. They dealt with the same thing not that long ago with Adley Rutschman, played the season, and offseason comes and we find out he was dealing with an injury. And that kind of feels like what's happening with Gunnar Henderson right now. Again, he said it was pretty much the last 3 quarters of the season. His numbers weren't terrible, but his numbers also weren't great in what we were accustomed to. His power numbers absolutely dipped. He went from 37 the year before, he had 28 the year before that, to just 17 last year. Again, not terrible, but not what we were accustomed to seeing with him. So that kind of leads you to believe, absolutely we agree and believe with what you're saying, because kind of where your numbers were and kind of how your defense was as well. It makes a lot of sense. And the type of injury that he said that he was dealing with was a shoulder impingement, and I dealt with something similar when I was younger, and it's all about your shoulder and your rotator cuff. And pretty much when you do a throwing motion, which he has to do all the time over there at the shortstop position, it gets pinched between the bones of your shoulder and your rotator cuff, and the tendons kind of all grab together. So every time you rotate that shoulder, it's just pain. And you can also deal with stiffness and weakness in that shoulder, and that could play a big part, especially when it comes to throwing, but also when you're swinging a baseball bat as much as he was swinging a baseball bat last year. So it usually says that rest is the best medicine for that, but a lot of times I had to go the surgery route, and you can go, again, rest, physical therapy, or surgery. And he played a lot of the season. Again, apparently the last 3 quarters of it, he was dealing with this type of injury. So it definitely doesn't feel great. Every time you throw that baseball, it's just pain and weakness and just super, super annoying of an injury. So it makes sense why his numbers could have dipped the way they did. And it stinks that he had to play through that type of injury last year. And it appears to be going well. He's still listed right now to suit up for Team America in the World Baseball Classic. So no other news has come out about it. So it appears to be going well, rehabbing from it. And we are still expected to see him ready to rock and roll for the 2026 season. But apparently, according to him, again, he was dealing with that injury most of the season last year. And it kind of all blended together because of how much most of our young talent was just having down years. And he kind of just fit right into that. But him having an injury absolutely makes a whole lot of sense why his play was down a bit. But hopefully that is behind him. He was able to rehab it, get any type of treatment that he needed to make it better for him to be a big factor and a healthy factor for 2026. And the Orioles have been super active on the waiver wire. I've been saying they've been one of the most active, one of the busiest teams this offseason, all around. Trades, free agent signings, waiver wire. And the waiver wire that the Orioles continue to do, the move that the Orioles continue to make on the waiver wire, is they've been getting these guys that are out of minor league options, so they have to pick them up and put them on their 26-man roster. But a way to get around that is by designating them for assignment not that long after, and just hope that no other team goes out there and claims them off the waivers. And if that happens, the Orioles can then outright them to the minors, most likely to AAA Norfolk. And that is exactly what happened to Will Robertson. Will Robertson was designated for assignment after the Orioles re-signed Zach Eflin. And Robertson officially cleared waivers and will be outrighted to AAA Norfolk. So Will Robertson is back in the Baltimore Orioles organization. But we've seen the same thing just happened with John Kinsey Noel. The Orioles claimed him off of waivers from the Cleveland Guardians, but he was out of minor league option, so they designated him for assignment after they claimed Luciano off the waiver wire from the Pittsburgh Pirates. Two guys there that the Orioles are very hopeful, former top profile prospects from the international level. And again, Alvarez has history with Noel and wants to give him a chance, but with kind of where he is at early on in his career, he still needs development. He still needs to learn and progress, and being able to do that down in the minor leagues is huge. And we are very hopeful right now, as Noel has been designated for assignment. He has yet to be claimed on waivers, so we're still waiting on word to see if he is able to clear waivers, because that would be a great addition to the Orioles minor league roster and another tool the Orioles can continue to develop down there. And another guy that the Orioles placed on waivers but were unable to have him clear, that was George Soriano. The Orioles officially lose the arm of George Soriano to the Atlanta Braves via the waiver wire. The Braves officially claimed him off of waivers. So Soriano is gone from the Orioles organization and is headed to Atlanta. And again, it doesn't always work this way, where you try to get one of these guys on your team and try to develop them, but it happens in situations like that with Noel. And right now with Luciano's still on the team. We haven't outrighted him, we hasn't designated for assignment, but that could be a situation where the Orioles do that if they go out and still sign one of these top remaining free agent starting pitchers or another guy for their bullpen. That could still be a move they make, but it doesn't always work. It's kind of a hope and pray method, and that's where they're at with Noel. And they most likely would have brought George Soriano back and optioned him outright to AAA Norfolk, but that did not happen, and he is headed to the Atlanta Braves. And kind of want to end this episode talking about one of those top remaining free agent starting pitchers that the Orioles continued to be linked to, continued to be rumored to be all in on, and mainly talking about Ranger Suarez. It's every single day that you're seeing that the Orioles are continue to be rumored to be all in on him. And what is holding this deal up, if all that is true right now? It makes the most sense that it is years, because apparently the money seems to be there, but from everything that I'm seeing, it's more of Suarez's camp trying to get a longer contract, and the Orioles apparently not wanting at this moment to give that longer deal, but the money seems to be there, so at least they got one of those things out of the way. But if it is the contract holding things up, we are not sure if that's going to be a deal breaker, and if Suarez decides to go elsewhere. But there still is Framber Valdez that is out there, and over again, day after day, it seems like the Orioles and the Mets are the top two teams, seem to be linked to him the most. And that, rumored to be interested in, linked to, that is all good and well, but in the grand scheme of things, anything can happen. We have seen that this season. So any other team can be involved. Any other team can swoop in and grab one of those two guys. Again, anything can happen. So it's really just a wait and see. And they have most of us Orioles fans, just because of how this offseason has gone so far, making moves that make sense and just being so active as they have been in the right direction, that it feels like we're just waiting for, it really feels, this last one big move to take place. This one more big-time free agent starting pitching arm to go at the top of our rotation with Bradish and with Rogers, and we're getting all the other things out of the way. Getting guys to deals, either for the most part, avoiding arbitration with a lot of these guys, having to go with just a couple of them, and making things happen, moving pieces around, trying to get themselves set up professionally and the minor league level as well for the 2026 season and beyond. It seems to be going great. Just that one last move is what most Orioles fans, including myself, are waiting for. And again, the Orioles continue to be rumored all over the place about both of these guys. We'll see if another guy, like potentially Zach Gallen, if he comes in as well. The Orioles, you'll see a few things saying the Orioles are kind of kicking the tires on Zach Gallen, but that could be potentially a last resort type of thing, as it seems to be either Suarez, I can't get Suarez, and Valdez, and we'll see if Gallen falls in to the mix as well if the Orioles strike out on either of those two guys. But that is going to do it, guys, on this episode. I really, truly appreciate you guys tuning in. And if you're a fan of today's episode, please give that like button a high five. And if you're a fan of this content, please subscribe. Get yourself daily notifications for all of these daily video drops. covering all things the Baltimore Orioles. But thank you guys so much for tuning in to today's episode. I will see you on the next one. This is Orioles Today. I am Sean Ferguson, and let's go O's.